Good morning. Welcome to the IT Showcase News interview. My guest this morning is Paul Sparks. He's Product Director at Iris Accounting and Business Solutions. He has over 20 years' experience in accounting and business software, and his CV includes roles in sales, channel management and marketing. Paul frequently comments on industry trends and regularly speaks to wider audiences on software issues facing business today. The theme of today's interview is innovation. Iris's own Group Chief Executive Martin Liu said recently in Real Business the key challenge is how will companies innovate to gain competitive advantage. So with this in mind, Paul, my first question is, does innovation lie in the software itself, or how it's used, or both?
Certainly both, possibly even three areas, Alison, I'd say. Certainly in terms of the software, the sort of things that we tend to find is that it's not necessarily what the software does, it's how it's actually used. So if you look at accounting software, the reality is that double entry bookkeeping hasn't changed since the 15th century. But I think we all know that there's been some significant innovation during that time and things have advanced. And actually that still continues to be true. Typically a piece of software, when it's being used not properly or not as well as it could be, it won't be that productive, won't be efficient. But a lot of new technology coming into products today can really help improve that productivity, improve efficiency, and that's really where the software element can really produce a result for businesses. I mean, typical things that we're talking about is how people can find not just the original piece of information they want to find, but any associated. So when you think back to older software, you find a piece of information, it asks and raises a number of other questions, they come out, they go to different areas, they go through. But a lot of modern software will use technology which allows them to see all of the related information in seconds and actually then drill on through and see that. So that's an example of how innovation within the software can certainly help. The other big area is reporting. I think in terms of how innovation has changed is the way in which we digest information. There was a day that used to be a big hunk of paper arrive on the desk at the month end, and the dot matrix printer has put out all the month end information. I think, not only is this information now available on handheld devices, inboxes via the web, but it's also the number of people who digest that information now has changed dramatically as well. So I think that's innovation there for you, so that how different people in different departments can have instant and live access to data within seconds. So that's in terms of software. You asked the question about how it's used. Definitely. You can have the most functionally rich piece of software available, but if people aren't trained, if people don't understand how to use it, then that's really not going to deliver the result you're looking for, and frankly will be a big waste of money. So definitely we're seeing, thankfully, a more educated user who are buying software second, third time round. And I think now we're pleased to say more and more people understand that the value actually often lies in the investment in the training, but not just in phase one, but actually making sure that they annually budget for further investment because new staff come on board, but also going on from there, you also tend to find that there's a lot of people who bring out new releases of their software. I mean, thankfully most of the major providers, such as Iris, who I work for, we're releasing 2 or 3 versions every year. And we're working really hard to put new productivity features into the software. But the biggest problem we all face is to make sure that customers invest at the same time so that their staff can use those features and take advantage of them.
Yes.
And the third key area really is more important, I suspect, really than the software in many respects and the way it's used, and that is how it's configured. Because you could have the best piece of software again in the world, but if it's not set up, if it isn't configured to match the needs and to drive that productivity and efficiency savings, the company won't realise that improvement. So, I mean, a classic that we often see is that businesses actually change, they grow and they change the shape. I think the last 18 months and what we've witnessed here in the UK in the economic climate has had a big part to play in the way in which people use their softwares as well.
Paul, I'd like to probe a little bit more on the innovation behind functionality or how the software is configured. Can you just explain a little bit more and maybe give some examples of innovation within those areas?
I think a lot of the innovation actually also, just worth mentioning at this point, ties into the way in which we've changed the way we manage our organisations and businesses today. So, key area that we see from our new customers time and time again is around reporting. They really want to change the way in which they report. It isn't about a quarterly review and looking at information and seeing where the business is. People are reporting now weekly or even daily. And I think the innovation comes around in which the speed in which that information can be processed, can be put together, and the way in which we can hold comparative data and be able to compare that. So that's a big area. I've already mentioned the way we can digest that information for the use of PDAs, for example. Other big areas in which we've seen the configuration coming into play is that people, their businesses have changed in a lot of cases. Take distribution organisations. Many are now buying goods from the Far East, so their way in which the innovation helps them is the way they manage that transportation. They know it's a 3-month lag before that stock will come into play. They've got to go through the various customs piece, they've got to have the shipping time, and so the software is helping them manage their businesses now, and which is a very complex process normally. So they know, they order now, that it will arrive in their warehouse ready to get to their customers in 6 weeks' time, 5 weeks' time, or even 3 months' time.
Paul, I think you could be forgiven for thinking that with the pace of technological change, the only true way to innovate is to say, out with the old and bring in the new. Is that the case?
Yes, you could certainly be forgiven for that. But no, certainly not. That isn't always the case, that you have to change to realise that improvement of innovation, etc. It's certainly no harm, however, to going out to the market and reviewing, because I think what you tend to find is that you don't know what you don't know. And there is an awful lot of new technology and a new functionality available that is delivering some real productivity savings to organisations. One of the pluses, actually, I think, that looking at what's happened in the last 18 months again, it has driven innovation in terms of helping organisations be more efficient, because that's been a need of UK business, or worldwide businesses, in fact, to be more efficient. The other key factor is that technology changes. We've seen Windows 7 arrive. Microsoft are putting an awful lot of money behind this. It certainly looks like it's the platform for the future. There are also a number of ancillary applications for the development environment for people like Iris, allowing us to develop new applications. A great example would be something along the lines of Silverlight, the latest version of Windows Mobile that might be used on your phone. It can be developed in Silverlight. When that's available, which is quite soon, it brings more functionally rich applications to a browser. So not just your phone, but also to the browser you're using at home and in the office. And so what you'll see for the first time is that rather than the quite clunky interfaces that we often see when we're entering forms on the web, etc., you're actually going to start to see much more functionally rich applications, just really identical to what we're used to seeing on machines. And what this will mean is that it will support more remote working, it will support better interaction between customers and suppliers, all going through to a central system, and there'll be some huge productivity savings off the back of that.
Mm-hmm. Finally, this morning, Paul, I'd like to ask you, what innovations in customer service can software vendors offer the customers of today?
It's all about helping organisations get a better understanding of their customers. That's how you drive customer service, if you really understand the DNA of your customers. We really want at Iris our customers to have really an absolute clear idea of how those customers are trading, what are they buying, when are they buying it, how much time are we spending on their projects, and drive out really clear information on an easy live basis around profitability of these projects, customers and product lines. Great examples of how this can happen is, again, using the latest technology, making that information available on handheld devices and remotely again. It's about making sure that people have that clear picture of their customers, and this will drive better customer service.
My thanks to Paul. Join me again soon for another IT Showcase News interview.